Everybody say it mean.
Who's that out there living the dream? Let's blow in the bean. Who's that still smoking all that green? Let's blow in the bean. Come on, y'all, let me hear you scream. Let's blow in the bean. Let's blow in the bean. Let's blow in the bean. Go.
Post-fight, welcome back, UFC 212. What a night of fights. I would say that this, for me, is probably the top contender for fight card of the year so far. I mean, you got everything you could ever want. Finishes, upsets, big upsets, little upsets, dare I say, eras, changing of the guard. We're kind of seeing the newer guard finally take over, and it was, I wouldn't say it was a dominant performance, but it was a hell of a showing, and it's the new breed coming up and through. Fun fights ahead of us. The title reign is over. Main event. Did you happen to catch at least the main event?
Oh, yeah.
That was, we got to break that down. I mean, the first two rounds, I would say, what?
You want to start right with Aldo and Max?
I think that we got to, because that's the most important thing that ended up happening.
Okay.
And then we just go over the other high points. We don't have to go over every single one, or...
All right, yeah. Whatever way you want to do it. I would have just gone over that one at the end.
Oh, okay.
But we're already there now. We're
too far in.
Yeah, so we can start with Max and Aldo.
We went too far. So, Aldo definitely won that first round. At the very least, that round he flurried at the end of that first round hurt Holloway, and Holloway shook it off, landed a spinning back kick right at the end of the first, and then in the second, I would say that when Holloway was kind of showboating a bit, is when I felt like he was starting to win that fight, because initially I thought my bet for Max Holloway went down. Those first two rounds were going by, and I was like, fuck. Aldo isn't throwing leg kicks. People keep saying he threw 0, but I saw 1 leg kick thrown.
No, he tried 2. He tried 2, and both times got tagged. Both times got tagged on his way out of the leg kick, because I think Max planned on those leg kicks, and I think that he got tagged hard enough that he respected Max not to try him again.
A lot of people are saying as well, with that, it's a very good point that you just made, and I have heard that, and it did happen. Also that what I kept noticing was that Max Holloway was in orthodox, and he tends to switch a whole lot more, and he stayed in orthodox all 3 rounds. And against Aldo...
No, he didn't.
He didn't?
The only reason I know
stance.
for sure is because my wife watched with me, and she said, he's left-handed. And I'm like, no, he isn't left-handed. But he was totally, in left, and then he switched. Then he switched back. And I think, and that was in the second round. Max had a flurry in the second round.
Yes.
He had a few flurries where he was looking good in the second round.
It started to turn in that second round.
But I kind of feel like it was part of his game plan. Aldo looked winded.
Why do you think we both picked them at the end of in the end rounds? We both thought 4 and 5. I feel like we were both seeing that was going to come over, and other people were making this point that, and it is a good point, that Aldo usually takes the third round off. In most of his fights, he wins the first 2 rounds, takes the third round off, wins 4 or 5, depending on how he does in the round 4.
He fights in a similar style to Joanna, another champion.
Yeah.
Where he usually might lose the first 1.5, 2 rounds. Like, I feel like he gets beat up, and that's the mistake of his
He started to warm up. He started to warm up in those rounds. He got the cobwebs shaken out, and Max definitely turned it on. I thought it was a late stoppage, honestly. I know people are crying that it was early and all that bullshit. No fucking way.
I feel like it was late as well, but I also understand it enough for it not to be controversial in my head. I just felt like Aldo was knocked out. And he was knocked out cold, hit the canvas, comes back to, and then that's your fight or flight mechanism that kicks in. And so then he's just taking a pelting. At one point during the whole thing, I actually thought he tapped to punches.
Yeah.
And I could be crazy, but I actually felt like he tapped to punches where he was just like, come on, call this.
What I saw on the ground with that flurry was him go out again once or twice and then get hit back in, like landing on the ground. I thought I saw that happen on the ground once or twice. And that's where I was like, stop it. Where it was like Aldo trying to grab just the air and getting hit 3 times in the face. And it's just like, no, it's over. It's over. I mean, valiant effort. I love that Aldo's already come back and said he ain't retiring. He ain't out of this bitch. He's back in it. He's needed a good reason to fight. Good.
He looked good enough.
That was a hell of a fight.
Enough.
He was winning that fight.
And I think it's okay for the I keep hearing, like, Aldo, the greatest of all time, it's always the talk of the GOAT, the talk of the GOAT, the talk of the GOAT. And Conor's a GOAT for a different reason than Aldo is a GOAT. And Max Holloway wants to be a GOAT that is a GOAT for the same reasons Aldo's a GOAT. He wants to run through a division. He wants to clear everybody out. He doesn't care who he fights next. He's a fighter's fighter. I think you can respect him from both sides. I think he can be marketed right. Hawaiian. Both Hawaiians win.
I think those are all great points, and I like that his post-fight, that he's like, no, I don't want to be compared as a Conor or anybody. I'm my own man. I'm making my own way, and even with people saying the BJ Penn talk and all that, and he's just like, no disrespect, he just wants to be his own person and is doing it his way. And I love that he has a positive role model state of mind where he's just like, we need positive role models in his specific community, let alone professional sports, and he wants to do that and be that. And I think that he's done it for himself. I mean, he's been finishing. If you look back at the people he fought to get after his loss, he went on a 10-fight winning streak. Look at those people that he beat. Cub Swanson finished.
To me, if you just go for record, to me, I feel like his record is more that of a GOAT than Aldo's. Not the years of reign, but the people.
The quality, the caliber of fighter.
Yes.
I think you
feel
have
like
a point there.
Jose Aldo, people consider the best of all time.
Uriah Faber was one of his arch nemesis.
Dustin Poirier, people consider that guy one of the most dangerous MFers in the ring.
Agreed.
I just feel like the people that he was knocking out, and then 3 rounds with Conor, and I mean this all, who else did it? Who else went 3 rounds?
Diaz.
Yeah, at 170.
Yeah,
at 170.
No, true.
I felt like that is, now that I get the whole shtick of weight cutting and all that and shrinking down, I feel like Aldo, I think we're going to be watching him for a long time. And I'm excited. And
me too.
He says, I plan on fighting, maybe 33, 34 years old.
He's going to be a monster. A loss only makes him better. It's one of those, he's kind of getting complacent in his title reign, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to keep doing whatever I'm doing. But now he's going to have to be like, oh, this new breed of kid. So now we're going to see him bounce back. Renan Barão hasn't bounced back since he lost his title reign. Same camp, same gym. I think there's parallels there that could potentially work, but Aldo does have the much more tactical and is credibly a world-renowned striker. Renan Barão really had a lot of flaws, and just a lot of people finally started to get to him, but Aldo is still going to be in it. I love to hear that great news from him.
Me too. I'm so glad it's not soccer. I'm so glad he's not crying.
All this other bullshit.
Yeah,
exactly.
It is what it is. And, oh, man, I was thinking just out of all the things in life that you never, or just kind of a bucket list of greats.
Mm-hmm.
To me, on that bucket list, like if it was like Bruce, or what's that, Chuck Norris, they have Chuck Norris jokes, or the most interesting man in the world. It would be like, he beat Aldo in Rio. Like, that is such a big...
Agreed. It's an Ali moment for him.
thing.
Like, it's a thing that people underestimate. People don't know what they were watching when it happened. I think that is very, very true. Nobody goes into Brazil. The Boom Amurer. All that shit, woo! That's scary.
Then afterward, the post-fight presser, I really liked what he said of, no, they're fight fans. They're educated. I expected them to cheer their countrymen. I don't hate that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to fight in Brazil. I respect that about Aldo. I think he's a warrior. I think he is, if you were to lose your throne, he's the kind of guy you want to lose your throne to.
Max Holloway apparently has a homecoming. I don't know if he's en route or if it's already happened. I'm sure it's going to be breaking because they're going to post. But apparently his whole community back home has already staged a parade and everything for him when he's getting off the bus. Like, he has a hero's welcome because he just defeated a legend. And clean knocked him out. Well, I guess Connor just did that too. God, but that has been a while. God dang it.
He knocked out a legend.
He knocked. Oh, damn it.
And then it's the whole question of, this is my next question. Everyone's like, Frankie.
Of course.
We just saw Frankie beat Yair, and not that I'm not taking anything away from that, but I don't think it's near the I don't think that is the caliber of men that the upper echelon is yet. Not Frankie, but Yair. Beating BJ Penn and jumping to Frankie Edgar is insanity, but I don't think Frankie fares well against Max Holloway.
I would agree with that, and I would probably have Max in that as well. But I've been on the Max train for a while, so you would come to expect that from me.
I know for the first time ever, I don't think Frankie will have the answer
to
Max.
Have you seen some of the fan art that's been coming out? I think one of them is Boss Logic. It was like Holloway with the Jets and hit the
I didn't like that one.
Oh, I was going to say, I was a fan of that one.
I liked everything but the Jets. I didn't understand.
I agree. I thought it could have been something else, but I definitely still like the fan art community and seeing what people do. It's fun. Other fights, Gedalia came right through. Number one challenger, I guess, because it's the number one challenger, then it goes the champ, number one challenger, whatever. So the clear number one challenger, she ate up somebody who went 5 rounds with the champion and wobbled the champion at one point in time. Gedalia took her right down. We thought takedowns were going to play. I was surprised at how deficient KK looked on the ground, but Gedalia is a little monster on the ground. So,
strong.
That was her base from the get-go. She just has went up against nothing but the champ, who has that ground defense in order to be able to get back up. KK is going to grow from this. She's still young in the sport. She still has a lot to prove. Like I was saying a little early, I thought they could have had other fights, but hey, they both have fights ahead of them.
I feel like the embedded made me get this romantic idea of KK, and I had Gedalia all week and changed her at the last moment because I like KK so much. I think she's a stand fighter. Unless she moves camps, like if you think back to Shevchenko with that same similar fighting style, she went to camp with Paige or with Rose for a while, like getting that wrestling foundation into her base, getting that grappling foundation. I think KK might need to move camps to grow.
I think that's a good point, and I would totally agree that jumping around, even if she takes her there's a lot of camps that'll be like, yeah, your coaches come down here as well, and then they just want to start Polish gyms or whatever other gyms they want to.
And another comparison that I wanted to save for you to see for you if it's a fair comparison. And I do think it's funny of the other comparison we've already made to the other fighter in this division. Do you think Claudia Gedalia is the DC of the women's strawweight? Totally. That's a great point. The always second best wrestler, grinder, going up against this madhouse striker with crazy knees and elbows, long, you can't get him down. Best sprawls. It's just crazy.
Good point. I like that point. And I mean, what do you do for Gedalia other than give her the title shot again? You can't do that. That's why they shouldn't have put her up against KK.
She didn't ask for it. In the post-fight presser, she said it would be ridiculous on a business standpoint for the UFC to do that. Why people don't want to see it again yet. She said, I want to make my skill set more well-rounded, so give me the other greats in the division and let me run through them and let the fans want the fight again. Let them start asking for it because there's no other option but to put the two best against each other again.
That's exactly the right
Isn't
answer.
That brilliant? Isn't that
right
what you want a fighter to finally say?
Yeah.
She totally gets it, and she's young, and also I am really excited for me, Andrade versus Gadelha is the fight I want to see. I feel like, okay, what happens in a 3-round fight, Andrade Gadelha? That's a good fight. Can't you weather the storm of the punches of...
But is it one of those things that it's just kind of like, give them both a couple other fights against other ladies and then fight them, because it is just like...
Well, I think Rose has to go to fight the champ, because there's no other option right now to fight the champ.
Yeah.
I think Watterson, what do you really do with Watterson?
You have to give her a couple other fights. There's other girls coming in. Moyle, we just saw Moyle earlier on the night. Versus who was the girl? Pereira, who won. Yeah, and Pereira's she looks like a little
beast.
You see those lats and traps? Damn. Look like she just walks on her hands all day long. She doesn't use her legs.
Claudia's next level. And a thing about Claudia is, I don't know what camp, but she's changed camps. She's expanding her game, and it showed. She was such a tight Claudia.
Yeah, she looked amazing. She actually is in New Mexico. That's where she was, came up and had that big falling out. But she does train, I believe, in Albuquerque for a bit. But she doesn't, I don't think Winklejohn's her main coach. I think, she just is in that area. But you can see all of that coming together. But it's the exact same point that she was saying in the post-fight. The fans don't want to see her against the champ right now. She needs 6 months of beating the other... And then people saying, okay, she earned her title shot. She earned it. But right away against the way that she finished KK, it just made it kind of uneventful for her to do anything next. And I
agree.
Then we had Vitor Belfort go to the first decision he's ever gone to in 20 years.
Here I had on this Marquardt KO. And it was, to me, in my head...
I agree.
But here's my naivete. Here's my naivete. But if I were going to put decision at all down, why would I ever do it for this fight in Brazil?
That's exactly why I put Vitor.
Even if Marquardt won 30-27 handedly, am I surprised it went the other way? Yep. No. And really, I could have gone for 29-28 either way. But 30-27, no. And I would actually say I had Vitor's decision, which I just was undecisive on who was going to get the finish because I gave Marquardt the real shot. And I gave Marquardt 2 of those rounds. But Brazilian's going to Brazil. You got some home cooking going on in Brazil. It ain't the first or the last time we're going to see it. And it's one of their living legends is still in the sport. Of course they're going to do whatever. 30-27 either way would have been ridiculous. I agree.
But Marquardt won that fight. I agree. I had Belfort, but Marquardt totally won that fight. What is there to see for either of these guys? To fight other old men? They can't fight anybody young because it's not going to work out. And Vitor got 3 more.
I let Marquardt, if I'm the UFC, I clip Marquardt and let him go to Bellator. I feel like he's run through enough of my... I mean, what do I do with him in that?
Right.
But is that... what weight class is that?
205 what they're fighting at?
Weak-ass weight class.
Exactly.
Look at the Ozdemir went to...
Number 4, number 5 in the world.
But Jimmy Manuwa, 1 fight ago, beating Brunson, went to number 3. So...
Hey.
It's a weak division. What do you think right now? Do you think Manuwa or Ozdemir?
Manuwa, Ozdemir, I know people are saying all this about Ozdemir, but I'm gonna say Manuwa. Because I've seen Manuwa beat better caliber of people. Shirkinov is better caliber, but who did we really see Shirkinov run through other than other people that were coming up too when we really look at it? And but that was a punch that was behind the ear that will knock out. And I don't know what that was, but he was dead to rights. He was out, limp baby. He fell.
I'm just not a Jimmy Manuwa fan.
I don't care for him.
But both overranked. They're just throwing numbers in front of their name now. They might as well make a silver and a bronze belt.
I agree.
Just to hand out to everyone in the division. I don't know. And how can you sit at that level when you're just plucking people out of weight class? once they get to the DCs and John Joneses. But I guess the winner of that goes to the loser of the DC John Jones fight, and that makes for something interesting. At least either way, you get to watch a champion beat up on another up and comer. Because I think DC and John Jones are far superior athletes over Jimmy Manawa and Ozdemir.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think most people would be in that exact same frame of mind of like, they don't stand a chance. They're just kind of fighting for the leftover meat of the belt. Like, they're never going to get the belt. They're never going to get that carcass. They're just going to get scraps. They're over there fighting for their piece, the whatevers. But moving on, we had a TKO in the bout before that with Borrachina versus the Holy War Ranger Bamboze. Bamboze has some of the worst gas in the entire UFC. Like, his gas tank literally is around a half a round. I'd say 2 minutes in, done. I was surprised he made it out of the first round. Second round, done. He came out there just to get finished, pretty much. Like, I
think this kid beat the tar out of him in that first round, especially toward the end.
Beautiful body shots by Borrachina.
It was unreal.
Which
I think
didn't
this
help
kid's
Bamboze.
an up-and-comer. What's their weight class?
They're 185.
Huh. It's interesting. Definitely an interesting weight class, especially with the Kevin Gastelum, Chris Weidman fight. Close to that, and I feel like he's got to be healthy enough to fight soon. He might be able to fight on one of these next big cards.
I think that's too big of a KG or Weidman too big of a step up for Borrachina.
No. I don't think. I think fight on the same card that night. I always think it's interesting when you get a comparative shot on the same night of the weight classes with a close number with the up-and-comer, because it also makes it interesting with a loser-winner fight some of that fought the same night for their healing and training to kind of be on the next same schedule. So maybe we can see them fight again by November, which is another Madison Square Garden card. And I think they're going to make it another huge card. I think that's going to become like a thing of the year, that the UFC makes this Christmas time card.
They've been doing it for a while.
But I think it's going to be the Madison Square Garden card. Traditionally.
Right.
So, I don't know. I think definitely he's an up-and-comer. He's kind of a new blood of Brazilian, where you have now Chris Cyborg, you have now, Borrachina. So then all of a sudden, if you were to lose Belfort after this, he has one more fight on his contract. If you're to lose Belfort after that, it's not such a huge deal. You're still going to pull and fill your arena. So, I don't know. I like the kid.
I think he's a handsome young man. Definitely cut up like a Greek statue, even though he's a Brazilian statue, I guess, if they were over in Greece. And he definitely comes to bang, bro. He fucking comes at you. I did like, though, his range. I really, really thought Borrachina kept a good range with as dangerous as Bamboze was. He took that onslaught those first 2 minutes, saw Bamboze start to slow down and put it on him. He flowed pretty well on top. Borrachina was on the Latin America season, and he made it to the semifinals, and I believe was TKO'd. But he's getting his game together. He's definitely... He's got nothing but harder fights ahead of him, though. He ain't getting easier fights.
If you think of somebody like a Michael Bisping, who strength-wise probably has... a 3/4 of the strength of Borrachina.
Yeah, right.
But the thing we were repeating last week, and it might even become a saying that we say over and over again on the podcast and somehow figure out into our shirt. I think wide looping punches, that whole thing,
right.
And somebody like with Michael Bisping with the straight punches, they're going to beat somebody like Borrachina every time. He still has too many holes in his game to take down that
That's boxing 101. But yeah, that's like... yeah, that's just fundamentals. But that's why they teach them like a straight punch, a jab, that's where even Aldo wasn't using his jab or his leg kicks as often as he was, and you can build a career. People have built careers off of just jabbing somebody. But fun fighters to watch in that division at 185. We had a fight that I got right. Did you call this one? I had Yancy Medeiros for Eric Silva. We had a TKO in round 2.
Hell yeah, I never have Eric Silva on anything, and I haven't for years.
I thought he looked good. I thought Eric Silva looked better than he has in a long time. But
he did his last fight as well, but it still wasn't enough to be like, I'm putting him on anything.
Exactly. I mean, his gas tank was there.
It was called a bit soon, but it would have happened inevitably.
I would agree with that 100%. I could see exactly that exact same point. People were saying it was early, and I'm like, it was more of an inevitability, and I happened earlier in the night, and you got to call it. I feel like they did give Brazilians a little bit more leeway throughout the night. I do remember tweeting about that one and being like, it was that was a foregone conclusion. He was getting work prior to that. We had, prior to that fight, Rafael Assunção, number 3 in the UFC, beating newcomer Marlon Moraes in a split decision. Definitely, I went with Moraes. I should have went with Assunção because we said it ourselves. Like, are you kidding me? Assunção's a bet.
I felt like my picks on air were definitely better than the picks I went with by the end of the week on Tapology.
Oh, dang.
Because I changed it as well. I felt like I was a Assunção decision. I might be wrong. I felt he was chinny, but I felt we said he was going to grind him out.
And that's exactly what happened.
Maybe I didn't say that on air.
No, we did say that on air. That he was. That he's
like
a grinder. He's a grinder's grinder.
Style.
Yeah, that's what Assunção does. Assunção will take a shot. He's got good striking. He's with TJ Dillashaw, and he's lost to TJ by a decision.
I changed this by the end of the week. I let the hype get me, but going to decision with Rafael Assunção for a young kid like this, I'm still excited he's here. Welcome to the UFC. I don't know many people that have ever gotten a harder fight on walk-in than this. So
I fucking agree with that.
You got to give it to him. Big lights, big TV, big stage in
Pay-per-view.
Brazil against a Brazilian legend. You got to, hats off. Welcome. I can't wait to watch him fight again. I think he's going to beat a lot of guys. I think he's going to be really exciting. I think he's going to continue to grow. He's Mexican too, right?
No. Moraes, I believe, is also Brazilian. Yep, he's Brazilian.
Oh, he's Brazilian?
Yeah, but he's been out of New Jersey for a while, I think, or something like that. Somewhere up north like that, where he has a gym. He transferred over a while ago when he was still in the WSOF, but he reps Brazil. And a lot of Brazilians, it's weird. It's weird because that's why they love Aldo, because he stays in Brazil and is amongst the people, and white people have mixed feelings about Vitor because he's a California guy now, and dudes that leave the homeland, some people kind of don't like, but you got to do what's best for your career sometimes. So they have mixed feelings, I feel like, about Marlon Moraes. I believe Assunção is training. I don't know what he's training out of, honestly.
Nah, moving on.
Yeah. So then we had a fight prior to that at 185 pounds. Cara de Zapato came through.
Exactly like we said.
100%. We were both heavily on this, like, oh wait, Spicy's a wrestler that's going to go to the ground with one of the best jiu-jitsu guys ever. Spicy was getting picked apart, though, standing, and I feel like we both called that as well. I feel like that was a really good play for us, and it worked out.
No, it was because he was submitted by Spicy was submitted by Sam Alvey.
Oh, yeah, right. Good point. Good point.
And Carlos is a big, enormous black belt.
Yeah.
That's...
Well, like his level of championship, though, because he won black belt level tournaments at black belt. That's where it's unreal. That's Damian Maia level of grappling in this division. The only thing with Cara de Zapato is that his fight IQ has been a little bit off. He's gassed in front of the show a few times. He's struck in when he should have taken it to the ground. Like, he's getting better in his age and his quality of fights, but there was money to be had early on in his career because you could see that he was still developing. He's a much better developer. He saw some adversity in this fight, but definitely came through. He looked good. I really liked what I saw from Shoeface. I definitely think a lot of fights for him coming down the line
He
are going to be
stuck
fun.
a game plan.
Yep.
He did more of a Damian Maia style fighting than he normally does. He didn't stand like he has in previous fights that cost him dearly. I think that he should use his length and get to the ground more and stop dance with the girl that brought you, kind of thing. Going on, yeah.
So then we had a finish at 135 pounds. I went for Johnny Eduardo. You were trying to convince me that Matt Lopez was the better fighter, and he definitely showed it. TKO round 1. I mean, Eduardo was going for leg locks, leg submissions, kind of put himself in a weird spot, and Lopez just started landing hammer fists. Did you see those hammer fists that landed?
Were they wrestling style double hammers?
They weren't double hammers. They were definitely, I think, a right hand. I believe Eduardo was going for like heel hooks and stuff, and when committing to the leg submissions and or knee bar submissions, you have to go both hands on that leg to extend it or heel to extend it, leaving your face open. Lopez was ready for it. He did limp after that fight, though. When he got up, Matthew Lopez did. And I remember seeing him one time and almost thought that he was going to look up at the ref. And then he just kind of was like, oh, whatever. And then he started landing punches. Could it have been that he knew it broke and was like, I got to knock this mofo out? Because I'm out of here.
We see it happen in a lot of other fights when a fighter knows they're injured.
He's like, I gotta go. I gotta strike wherever I can because I'm not going to be able... Because he was limping around a bit, and I don't know if I've heard if it's sore or not.
Conor McGregor have a torn ACL in the fight against with Max
Holloway.
Holloway?
Yeah. It happened, I believe, in the second round. Went the whole rest of the fight.
I feel like a lot of the fighters injure themselves and fucking break their fingers.
Oh, yeah. We've seen it.
Remember Anderson Silva when he finished the fighting Chris Weidman after he broke his leg? I'm just kidding. Can you imagine that?
Remember Uriah Hall's toe hanging off and the doc being like, what? And he's like, oh, it's like that. Okay, it's fine. And then throwing leg kicks. And John Jones's big toe after the fight being completely split open into the side. Oh, I love MMA. Oh.
It is kind of crazy that some of the injuries that we've seen occur in the last year, 2 years.
Yeah, it happens.
How they stopped the Leslie Smith fight now looking back.
How early it was?
Because remember the one that her ear was falling off?
Oh, no, I think that's a good call. That's a good call.
But you know what? That ear falling off and the fact that Leslie Smith wanted to continue is why we love her so much.
I agree with that.
It's why she's one of our favorites.
I totally agree with that. But I love when even though she's a total badass, when this is the shitty doctor comes over and grabs it like it's a ball, and she then goes, ah! And like you could see her be like, ah, shit. And it's like anybody who's ever had cauliflower, this guy, leave me the fuck alone. Let it bleed. Let it do whatever. We'll pick up the blood later. Like, do not touch this if it's popped or it's just throbbing. It literally, your whole face hurts. I've seen grown men cry. I haven't had it that bad. I always kept mine pretty drained as much as possible, so I don't have that crazy deformity. But I've been through it a few times. I've had it pop on the mat a couple times. It was not fun. You live and you learn. Ooh. So...
Blech.
That was some great hammer fists. The wrestling took over for Lopez in that fight.
I changed that one before the week ended as well.
You went with Eduardo?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, god dang it. He was a no Munyao guy.
I made so many changes by the end of the week. I did not have a good week by the end. I should have stuck with what I went with. And I even listened to us and I agreed.
Me too.
A lot.
I'll listen to our show again. I mean, call me vain or whatever, but I want to try to make myself better and try to get away from certain things.
Well, so I say like too much.
That, I feel I'm in that boat.
And usually it wears off as the show goes on. But because I've listened back, I notice more.
I feel like I was in that exact same boat and I just said it again.
I notice more earlier. I pay attention sooner in the show when I listen back.
Right.
Instead of letting it go on till the end. Anyway.
Great point.
Yeah, I changed that one as well, but I don't go back and change my DraftKings cards that I pick earlier, so that's why I end up in good places sometimes on DraftKings, even though they're not ahead even though not ahead this week. It's been a while since I've been down.
Totally agree, and I am sticking to that motto as well on DK, and it's worked for me. It's just leaving my early cards picked as they are and picking my end cards by the end of the week and let the cards lay how they must. I do gotta say, I gotta appreciate real quick the injury bug staying away from this. It made for an eventful night. We always praise, or we always give the injury bug so much shit when it comes in and ruins our night, takes 5 fights away from us. It stayed away. Everybody made weight. Everybody was
just
completely fine.
thinking the same thing in my head. I was just thinking it, but I was just like, huh, and I was going to make some conspiracy about it. This is the whole train of thought in my head right just now. I was going to say it, then I was going to make a conspiracy about it, and then I was going to make a hand joke about Brazil and steroid use, and could that be a reason? And then it made me think of, for some reason, Khabib Nurmagomedov and his weight cutting issues. And then for some reason I thought, I wonder if the Clintons had anything to do with that.
It all goes back. Follow the buddy. Just follow
I was
the
just
buddy.
thinking,
Just
well,
follow
he's
the buddy.
Russian and all the Putin scandal. And that's everything that just went on in my head.
Just follow the buddy. Where do you get that 200K to fight Tony Ferguson? Where do you get that 200K?
I know, the Clinton Foundation. I know, that's the whole weird thought. Just in the time of year that it was happening, with everything that was happening in America with Trump, the Clintons, and now everything with Russia.
Tony
So
Ferguson
stupid.
and his American fists. We're going to ruin that, boy.
That's the crazy train of thought that just happened from that. But yeah, I totally agree. The injury bug stayed away, and that is just as likely to have happened.
So we had the biggest upset of the entire card at 135 pounds. Kelleher versus Alcantara. Alcantara being number 13 in the world. Kelleher, which I had heard actually Ariel and New York Rick say, hey, look out for Kelleher. He's actually got a good ground game. He has the guillotine. Kelleher jumped on that guillotine immediately. And Yuri Alcantara tapped very quickly as soon as it was on. It was tight. And apparently that's that dude's move. Cody McKenzie made a career off of the show. He beat guys that had 15 years, but they couldn't stop his McKenzie team, where he was just long and gangly, and he knew how to use his gangly body in a certain way, and he just finished people.
I'm a fan. I didn't think it was an easy fight. I
Agreed.
actually think it's a fair ranking for Alcantara, and I am impressed with Boom. I will be a fan. I'll be a fan, and I didn't do any research on him at all. I just went with the UFC guy.
Sure.
And I didn't like.
Me too.
I was racist. I didn't like his look at all. I didn't the pictures that I saw. I was just like, I didn't like his hairline. I didn't like how pale he was. I just thought he looked like.
He got busted grill.
I was just like, meh. But after the fight and after watching an interview of him, I'm a fan, and I'm interested in to see where he goes next. What weight class was it?
This is 135 pounds. He's definitely making noise. Humongous step up for him. I like the way that he taunted the crowd. Like, after that post-fight speech, how can you not be a fan? 2-week notice, taking a top 15 contender, and then telling the crowd, "Boo, Mamurer." Shh. That's dope as fuck. That's so, like, you're gonna tell your grandkids, like, I fucking went in Brazil and I told those fuckers to shut up. Like, that's some shit. That's gonna be cool.
I think this is something that I would remind me of next time it's happening. When we see a nobody that is getting called on short notice to fight someone who's a somebody as far as UFC
name.
rankings, they tend to win. They tend to win.
I mean, they got nothing to lose.
We've seen it happen over and over again. Some of the
Vanada
guys,
versus Ferguson was
Vanada
close
versus Ferguson,
to being over.
There's somebody who we really we're huge fans of Vanada, but there's somebody else who we're really big fans of that they were called on short notice, and we're always like, nope, you got to watch him. You got to watch him.
Emelson, I feel like, was for Malfa.
Was it Barbarino? Barbarina?
No.
I don't know. I don't remember. But anyways,
There's
I just
quite a
think
few guys.
I always think like I even thought on this fight, short notice. That's always how this shit goes in the UFC.
Yeah.
And then everybody sleeps on the guy on his next fight. The UFC's mad that they just took out one of their stars, so they throw him to the wolves on their next fight.
Yeah.
And
they get through
the
them.
last time we saw it happen, and they got through the next fight too. And then I was like, noted. Everybody's sleeping on this guy. So these are one of those guys.
I got to do my research as well. I definitely slacked on it and didn't give Kelleher the shot. I think you make a very valid point, and I didn't do enough research on Kelleher. Good win for him. Can't wait to see that young man, 30 years old, in the sport, keep going on. When we talked about the decision real quick at 115 pounds with Pereira versus Moyle, Moyle looked overwhelmed by the end of that fight. Pereira was definitely throwing some beautiful, crisp striking in there. Takedown defense looked okay. Moyle's takedowns were pretty bad. So I think that against the real takedown artist, you're going to see Pereira have a much harder shot. Wasn't too much of a ground game in that fight for either fighter. Not too much to say. Give them both another fight. I think Moyle can... Oh, one thing with Moyle. Moyle dropped off her kids before this fight at the soccer stadium. Told them she was going to be back in an hour. Fought a UFC fight, got in her minivan, went and picked up her kids, took them out to lunch. Just saying, Jamie Moyle. It looks like the soccer mother to me. Like, not that fighters have to look a certain way, but she's just like, the muscle definition wasn't there. It was all heart, and I love it. And I love you, Jamie Moyle.
Jamie the Mom Moyle.
So
I saw a sticker. This is kind of off topic, but it just made me laugh on a scooter. That it said condoms helps prevent minivans. I don't know why.
That's a good one.
Stupid, it
That's
made me
a good
laugh.
one. That's really funny. So, anything you have to say on that 115 about
Minivan Moyle.
That's
so
a good
shitty.
nickname. That's
Like,
a good nickname.
Yeah, it would be a kind of a cool
totally-
nickname. But it would be a cooler nickname if a guy like Roy Nelson was named the Minivan.
Yeah, totally.
It'd be a cooler nickname for a big, huge guy instead of a lady.
Yeah, poor lady.
Unless it was somebody that was built like Andrade, and you were called the Minivan.
I
People
think
would be
she's
like,
still a little bulldozer. I see her as
she's a little tank.
Yeah, exactly. You can say you're just so. Almost at the beginning of the card here, we had Luna Chagas versus Jim Wallhead. This finished in round 2 via submission for Chagas. Wallhead was a heart for days, but I think that his UFC
He was out of
days,
league.
yeah, his UFC days are over. Chagas tended to gas in his fights and really was reserved in this fight. He really, really was. He was a fucking monster. He was so big. He looked a whole person bigger. He looked like he was 185, and Wallhead looked like he was 170 pounds. It was just unreal, the size that guy probably cuts down from Chagas. I don't think that we can really see. Wallhead can put up a good fight. I think that Chagas's cardio has been tightened up, and that's the biggest thing that we can take away from this fight for him. Wallhead, I think that he's out of his league. He needs to I think he's gonna get asked to step away. I think this is his second loss in a row. He did put up a good fight though. He never gave up in that fight.
He was a short notice guy, I think.
Or
no, he wasn't. He was like a UFC London guy.
Yeah. I think he'd fought before and lost the decision, 1-1, something like that. But he's up there in age and has even had a long career prior to that. So Chagas being young and just the size of him, you could see the size kind of just got a hold of Wallhead as well, and the power. And Chagas didn't have to really overthrow like he tends to do, and showed a good gas tank. So the beginning of the car started with a corner stoppage in the second round for Alcantara Divisi. What the hell's that guy's name? He's got 17 damn names. Versus Beltran. This is Beltran's second or third loss in a row. this was a stoppage in between rounds. People said that, or people were saying that Beltran quit the fight because at the end of the second round, Alcantara, but that's not his gosh darn name. What's his nickname? Divinius. He ended up putting it on, and Beltran was going for a leg submission, and Divinius ended up Figueroa. He had Lopez had Beltran and was landing strikes from in that position, and that hurt him. People said Beltran quit at the end of the second round, but I think that it was a doctor stoppage due to cut, and I think that that's what really happened. But it says corner stoppage. Maybe his corner completely stopped it, and his ref or his own corner said, "You're getting beat up in there." It was Beltran's first fight at 125.
That's too much.
He was tall for. Whew, that's too much. You could see it, and I think that his corner saw it.
I think this is the perfect way for us to walk into the whole next conversation.
Perfect.
125. Does the UFC need the division?
For women?
For men.
Isn't there 125 already?
Yeah.
Demetrius Johnson?
Do they need it anymore?
Yes, of course. I love it.
So you would disagree with Dana White then?
100%. And against DJ, 100%. I fucking love 125 fights, but I'm a hardcore.
I feel like you heard what he said to
I
Demetrius?
do. I completely agree, and I would
For
say
fans that don't know?
So, please.
So for fans that don't know, Dana White wants the TJ Dillashaw versus Demetrius Johnson fight to happen. As a fan, I fucking love this fight. I actually think it's the most interesting Demetrius Johnson fight I can think of in years, and it might be for the skill set that TJ has become of what I see him as a fighter now. It might be the most interesting fight that TJ's had in years. It might be the first time that I see both these guys can headline their own pay-per-views. Like, I would be interested in this as a pay-per-view main event fight.
Yeah.
That being said, I think Demetrius Johnson has won enough titles. Oh, I don't need to go in my opinion of it yet. So, Dana White really wants this fight to happen, and Demetrius doesn't want this fight to be his fight. He wants to break the record and stuff. He wants to fight Bermudez.
No.
Benavidez.
No.
The one that's with the cute girl?
The Taz Mexican Devil. Taz Mexican Devil. Why can't I think of his name? Not Boyle.
No. I'm sure. Oh my goodness.
Borg. Ray Borg. It's Ray Borg.
Yeah, Ray. Is it Ray Borg?
It's Ray Borg.
Okay, so Ray Borg, he wants to fight Ray Borg, who has a hard time making weight, but that's for another topic.
Exactly.
But he wants to fight Ray Borg and break his records, and so Dana went on and said, "You're gonna pretty much take this fight. I tell you who to fight, and if you don't, I'll get rid of the whole strawweight division, men's strawweight." So that's where we're at. So Demetrius said, "Get rid of it. I don't give a fuck."
Damn, bitch, he's making that Twitch money, homie. Making that Twitch Xbox money, homie. I mean, DJ has done it better than most people. He was sponsored by Xbox early on, Beats headphones when they were allowed to do that, and he's had exclusive contracts for a long time because he has been a champ for so long, even in other division or other organizations. He's never made as much. Apparently, he hasn't been getting paid as much as a lot of these other guys, and he hasn't really headlined too many pay-per-views. Always been a co-main event.
He's never headlined a pay-per-view. I might be wrong, but I don't think he ever has.
I think that is true, and he's kind of sticking up for himself, being like, I've beat the 10 number one contenders in a row now. Little respect, guys. I don't want to do it for whatever reasons. I think that as we're seeing everybody else kind of stick their hand in the air right now because it's a new changing of staff, everyone's making their voice be heard. This is him making his voice be heard. He's in a position that he can do this. And I think that Dana's saying this for leverage. I think Dana's saying this all for a business aspect. Like, I'm going to devalue you as much as possible because I'm not going to pay top dollar for you because he's a fucking businessman. Like, he's a promoter. Of course he's going to do that shit. I don't think they're going to get rid of the division. It's stacked. I like the division. I know that he's the current champ, but everyone under him, it's like other divisions, like the champs are champs, but people under them are always moving. There's always fun fights going on that I'm wanting to watch underneath. And I think it's leverage. I think that both of the organizations, though, need to compromise. I feel like DJ, as much as he's saying that they aren't promoting him, I could kind of see that and not, because being on Fox and headlining Fox, I feel like is a big promotion in itself.
I don't think they're promoting him correctly.
That's where I would say it had to be both of them, where they have to come together to come with a plan.
He shouldn't be on Conan. He shouldn't be on these places doing the Ellen. What he should be doing is Comic-Con, and he should be on the gamer conventions. He should be there representing the UFC, not just as a gamer, but he's a smart guy, and he's funny, and he's charming. He could sit at table things and not just talk about fights, but maybe make these fans interested in following him on Twitch, which would make them more invested when he is going to fight. And all of a sudden, that's a few 100,000 people that not only have the money to tune in, if they can afford their gaming systems, they probably have a parent's credit card. So they have the money to tune in. That could be the dial mover on the. They're like losing the nerd, and I mean nerd and geek in all the best ways. Right. But they're you losing that audience where they have this like guy who gets hundreds of thousands of views, probably millions of hits a month, to watch him play video games. Why wouldn't you invest in that?
I think it's all very valid point, and.
Why isn't the UFC banner at the bottom of Demetrius Johnson's account while he's playing these video games?
I think that.
Why? I mean,
that makes tons of sense.
Why isn't Reebok logo in the corner? If they're going to force these brands upon these fighters, why not let them be able to take pieces of the money, the pie? Because obviously the contract's screwy for the fighters.
Right.
I don't know. I just have.
Maybe the fighters don't want them in there. But because he's making his own money off Twitch, that's pretty good money because he has a really big following on there. But I was just going to say, if he gets some sort of contract like that, I guarantee you there's going to be a handful of other fighters saying, I want that contract. I play video games all fucking day when I'm not training because I have hard, like, their life is fighting.
Blessed. Holloway. You can watch him play video games on Twitch.
Yeah, exactly. Like... They can get into a rhythm of that where they train a couple times a day and their downtime they're playing games with their family, video games, and it's a new world. Video games are a part of everyday life. It's a new America. Sorry.
No one can really judge it either. Anyone that's judging it and hasn't picked up their iPhone and played a game on it, or their Android and played a game on it, I don't even believe
you're over
listen
60
to us right now. You don't listen to podcasts.
You're over 60. Yeah, we're not marketing towards you. Exactly.
I don't know. It's just people have different forms of entertainment, different ways to unwind from the hell that is the everyday. That is why you listen to Elizabeth the Bee. But yeah, I think Dana White's off base.
I think he's off base as well. And I think that how dare you say something like that to one of your most proven champs and someone who has done a lot of favors for you. I feel like DJ's done a ton of other favors for him multiple times.
And I feel like why not make... instead, if you want to... Why not Frankie Edgar versus TJ Dillashaw? Like, why not take two guys that'll be healthier on the same time and put them on? And people are like, oh, that's not the same weight class. I know.
Right?
I know. That's my point. That's my point exactly. And I think we've talked about it on the podcast before that it's a shitty move for a guy to call down.
Right. Of course.
And of course, TJ is acting kind of like a prick. I know he wants to fight. This is why I'm not a fan of TJ. This is why I always fall back on the other side. I know he wants to fight. He's training. I think that's bullshit when a guy like Tony Ferguson, you go through these months of camp, you're at your peak, and then you what? Yep. So I feel like, he's going to be in fit, shape for the summer, Vegas. What would be another good fight for TJ?
Ooh. The one off the top of my head, he's already fought us on town twice. Marlon Moraes, but that dude's coming off of a loss. You can't give up fucking TJ right away. But I think they're in a higher weight class at 135. Where are they at? They're at what, 135?
135.
They're at 135.
But TJ says he's willing to make 125.
Oh, which he's never even wrestled at. He's never made
Yeah, I think
125.
that's
That's gonna happen to Beltran.
Then the whole thing, this is the other debate, where I think Demetrius said yes, and the only reason he said no is because if TJ doesn't make weight, then he won't be fighting for the belt. It won't have anything to do with breaking a record because he won't be fighting for the belt, and he also won't get his show money for it because it won't be for the belt. So that's a lot to put on a guy that's never made the weight. I understand all that from a business perspective, and if it were a piss fight, like if it was CM Punk that Demetrius was going against, or a guy of that caliber,
Right.
Yeah, you take that fight every day. But a dangerous guy who's 10 pounds heavier than you fighting, like TJ Dillashaw, why would you jeopardize your legacy? And people say, it wouldn't jeopardize his legacy. Look at Jose Aldo and how Connor's name has to come up. Look at Ronda Rousey.
Exactly.
Like, look at how quickly, like, a clean, you go night-night knockout ruins a legacy.
It's the truth, and TJ does have that ability.
And I don't think it does, but I just know the hate that those fighters
It does tarnish your record.
Yes, you get a ping on that cup.
It is the truth. Fans are fickle. What are we going to do? You got to just stay educated.
I'm sometimes I should be a more fickle fan. It takes me forever to fall off, and it takes me forever to come aboard.
Yeah, I think to be in that boat.
But then sometimes I come aboard too late and fall off too late. It's like I show up at the party late, and then I'm the last one there with the like wasted person. So I think it's sometimes bad.
Did you happen to see the lovely dance that a group of men did for Mr. Hunt for his way to Australia or wherever they're going to go fight?
With Jason Momoa.
And there was a couple other, him and a couple other guys. That was pretty intense of a video. If you guys haven't, I'm sure you guys have seen it. It's been out there everywhere. I love seeing that kind of stuff. It gets your blood boiling. You watch it and you're just like, oh, dang, Mark Hunt got a little touched.
What do you think, Mark Hunt? Fight coming up. Derek Lewis, the Beast. What do you think?
That's coming up Saturday. Woo, that's a Fox card.
Quick, off the top of your head. Not quick. You can take as much time as you
want. I got Lewis. I've just been inching Lewis all week. I've been inching Lewis all week. And Mark Hunt is the legend and fought the top of the top. And the most interesting thing of that entire fight for me is Mark Hunt suing UFC right now still and appealing and putting in other lawsuits against UFC.
To me, that is the exact reason that he is in his home country. They're using him to pretty much, they're like, look, homie, we're going to let your knockout reel in your home country that'll haunt the rest of your life be the money that we pay you with if we lose this lawsuit. Right. It's such a shitty, and against Derek Lewis, the only thing that would be worse to me is if they might as well just throw Nagano in.
So with Derek Lewis, what do we say? You wanted to make it our motto earlier in the podcast. Straight punches be looping punches.
Truth be told.
That's exactly what the matchup is going to be.
Well, I think it's to be said in conversation, too. Not just UFC fights. I just think it's a good logo of life sometimes. Yeah. Like, to the point.
Let's get there. Let's be done with this. And Mark Hunt can do that. Now, Derek Lewis, being a magnificent man that he is, I feel like could eat a shot and lay one of those hams on your face, and you go night-night very quickly. And he's done that many a times where he's even said it. I should have probably blocked out a little bit better, but I knocked him out. Like, Derek Lewis is like, yeah, you go hit me in the face. Can you take a shot back?
Derek Lewis has a good takedown defense. He has a crazy sprawl that you wouldn't expect. Yeah. Like, better than you'd think.
He looks good
for
naked.
Where he first came from. Oh,
that
hella
ESPN
good.
spread.
Hella good.
Like that.
I think he can. I just think he's in his time. I think the guy.
I agree.
He's one of my favorite UFC personalities.
Agreed. I totally agree. He has the best interviews, and even if it wasn't the main event, I just want to see Derek Lewis interviews. I like to see the whole workups the weeks before.
I can't
because
wait
he
for
plays
the
with
embedded. I
media.
can picture him sitting in New Zealand somewhere, like with ladies around him of some like native culture. Like he's such a pimp.
He's so dope. He's your uncle that's just like, what? Am I aunt lets him do that? Your aunt don't let him do shit. He does that. And she's just like, I'm getting paid.
Like he could have a reality show.
Fuck yeah, I watch that. I would watch that.
Derek Lewis.
I would watch that. Talk about poop all day. I will laugh. I have a very low sense of humor, lowbrow sense of humor.
I think this is the weird part about this fight is I really think, and I think it'll be worth good money. I know it's far out. This could go to decision.
Ooh,
I think
like
both
that.
guys could lose their power by the second round. Neither's the takedown artist and going to want to go there. They're both going to stand and throw the whole time.
Yep.
So I think the last 2 rounds we could see 2 real sweaty hippos just leaned up against each other taking lazy ass shots. Every once in a while there might be one that we're like, oh damn, but I think it could be one of those fights that they're so sweaty and bloody and it's like at the end it's one of those fights like the Bigfoot. So Mark Hunt just has this ability to take these guys to the end of the rounds and stay swinging, and we're like, damn, what 2 warriors. And Derek Lewis's cardio has gotten a lot better, but he does lose it, and Mark Hunt does as well. It's always better than you think because he's a big fat guy, but it's never.
Lewis, I feel like, has been in that boat for me as well because he went to a decision with Roy Nelson.
Yeah, he's had fight nights that have gone 5 rounds.
Exactly.
So I just think this is a weird one that I think it'll be like 32-1 odds to go to decision.
What I see, I don't know what the picture that I keep seeing in my head for the finish of this fight is Mark Hunt coming in with like a left or a right jab, but it being from the lead hand. Whatever his lead hand is, he's gonna go in for a jab, and Lewis is gonna come with an overhand right, and it's gonna land as that lead punch is landing. Lewis is going to take that punch. Hunt's not. That's just what Hunt's just going to go. He's going to go and turn into a surfboard and right into the drink.
I think he took too big of a knockout of recent.
He's been in so many wars. He's been knocked
out just by Alistair Overeem. Like, wasn't it Alistair Overeem?
His career.
Like a few months. Who was it? Just a few months ago. The Brock Lesnar beating, he can't be the same after that.
Oh no! Who did he freaking?
Pretty much.
He's suing because of that beating. He's suing because of that beating. He got beat so bad.
They've just put him in there against monster after monster. Yeah. It was Alistair Overeem because the UFC did that fishy ass shit where they let Alistair Overeem, the only fighter we've heard of since USADA, use an IV bag to fight.
And they're like, "Oh, he went to the doctor, 2 guys, just so you know, bitches."
So we are seeing, they're pretty much, so I would even bet that his next fight, Mark Hunt's next fight, is going to be against Ngannou. Because the UFC is just like fucking him every way but Tuesday.
It's one of those things. You can choose to put a photo up of yourself with the president's head beheaded. Someone can choose to fire you as well.
Yeah, you have the freedom to do what you want, but they do too.
You can sue the company.
They do too.
And they can also pick you against whoever you want and only give you a couple options to fight. And then you fight in the back beast in your home country and you got a bunch of...
What other fights are on this card?
There's quite a few fights. There's some really fun ones.
Anything else you're really excited about?
Off the top of my head, I gotta say no because I gotta look it up. There's nothing
there's nothing.
But when I look at the card, I know that I'm gonna be like, oh shit. The other MMA news going down. We had Vellante get wedgied by Chris Weidman. Did you see that whole thing go down?
No.
John Vellante had bet Chris Weidman. They were doing some sort of like stage show during the live fights. The UFC had put it on or someone had put it on. And John Vellante bet that he would get a wedgie if Carolina lost. She got submitted in the first round. So Chris Weidman picked him up by his underwear across stage.
Hey. Carolina, it surprised me too. And I should have listened to myself a few days before for all the reasons that I thought that it would go down. We talked
it out.
The difference, the big difference, I felt like for some reason in my heart by the end, KK, I know what Claudia's game plan is, so I thought like KK's coaches, I thought for takedowns and all that, knees, like something.
Mm-hmm.
KK had holes in that game.
Yeah. But it's also a credit to Gedalia. Gedalia is a bad mofo. She just can't beat the baddest beat on the planet right now at the 115 division. The other fights that we have on this card that I'm going to tell you that, they looked fun. We have Derek Brunson versus Dan Kelly.
I have Kelly on that.
Ooh, that's going to be a huge underdog. I
I'll go through a quick.
Oh, okay.
Quick picks. Because I did them and I have my crazy, Tapology. Okay. I gotta go through.
This is going to turn into a breakdown show? Because I know some of these people.
I feel like it has to be like a 30-second breakdown. Like we can't get into it too deep. It just has to be and we could change beforehand, before the fight. We're always able to do that.
Yeah.
But I forgot that right when you said the Brunson fight, I was just like, oh, there are a couple of good fights on this card that I'm like, are we talking about?
I saw one that I'm like, holy fuck. That deserves to be a main event anywhere. For me.
And I love this new thing that the UFC is doing and getting smart about where they're booking the 12. So if it falls to 11 or 10, we're still okay.
Yeah, totally.
I'm really digging that. Right now I just have Kelly decision because he's one of my favorite underdogs. I feel like everyone always undervalues him, and I think Derek Brunson,
he's going to be on
ice skates. He's going to come out flying at the beginning, and Dan Kelly take you down. Dan Kelly takes some shots.
Well, I got Brunson.
Everybody has Brunson. Yeah, everybody has Brunson knockout, and I think Dan Kelly got a chin. Like, it's something that no one thinks about. He's been in there with power punchers over and over again. And a lot of people that are better fighters than Derek Brunson included. So, that I know. It's a huge underdog.
That's huge underdog. I like it. I like it a lot. So
I got a few underdogs on this.
Pearson Hooker.
Decision.
I got Hooker decision off the top of my head. I haven't even submitted my Tapology yet, so these are all my
Right now, I only have Hooker decision because his only loss right now is Jason Knight, and I think Jason Knight's hot.
Yeah,
I think Jason Knight is a good-ass fighter. And Ross Pearson, I am a fan of Ross, but I think this is it.
He's taken a downturn, definitely, but he's the gatekeeper who's not able to be the gatekeeper.
I hate this next fight so much because both guys scare the shit out of me.
This is a fight that I'm so excited for because fucking Frankenstein De Silva.
You love De Silva.
Where's Kudalaba?
You always love De Silva.
I fucking hate that. I don't know what I don't like. Bad, somewhat good technique, completely reckless, does weird stuff in the ring against Kudalaba, who painted himself green against Cannonier and then got fucking manhandled.
But now looking at it, it went to decision, and now that we're seeing James Cannonier, he's ranked. He's ranked in the UFC. He
got held down. Like, Cannonier held him by his throat like a drunk guy holds another drunk guy and then, slapped him. Like, Cannonier was just using,
drunk guy holds another drunk guy.
That
was the analogy.
So, you just grabbed him by the throat, held him on the ground, and slapped
Well,
him.
if you were to go with De Silva right now, he is such a huge, heavy underdog.
Really?
Huge.
Again, the way
23%
to
77%.
Do you think he turns green and has
people have 77% and most of them have knockout to Henry De Silva. Henrique.
Do you think that he comes in
he's
with
gonna
a
be
Henrique?
Green. Yeah, he's going to be green.
And he's going to be green.
Oh, man. I easily could see a submission here. I easily could see Henrique's submission. I don't think he should be this heavy of an underdog.
I think De Silva has a greater shot. Right now, De Silva is my submission.
You're underdog right now?
What happens to De Silva happens every time. He's got a Frankenstein-sized head. So he takes a shot, and then guys go to the ground with
All
him,
right.
and he fucking snatches up the submission, and he's done it, or
And
he
he's a
puts
big
people
fat
in
belly.
back positions.
With his big fat belly.
I don't think he's that fat, is he? He's got pudge.
I feel like he has handles for days.
He's got a pudge. He does have a pudge. It's true. And Kutalaba looks like a...
All right, maybe it'll
beast.
be an okay card. It'll be interesting.
The other one, though, this is a fucking diamond in the rough. Right before that...
And this is it, of this card.
Of this card, this is the best fight of the night. Tim Elliott versus Ben Nguyen. That is the fight of the night. That right there.
Who you got?
Tim Elliott. But Ben
I have
Nguyen shouldn't
Elliott
be
decision
taking...
right now as well.
Nguyen shouldn't be taking this fight. This is to have a fight for him after the loss. I think he's coming off of a loss. Maybe not. Let me see real quick. No, he's coming off of a win against Herrera, a decision. But he lost to Smoka via TKO, but he was on like a 9-fight streak prior to that. I mean, I just think Elliott showed he's next level with... Oh, he's giving DJ the biggest run for his
That's
money.
going to be expensive, I have a feeling, on DraftKings.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But I just like the fight stylistically. I think that Nguyen's going to lose this fight all day, but I really like just that it's going to be... Any Elliott
I think
fight
the way
I like
you
to
could
watch.
make money on this fight a little bit could be Elliott finish.
And yeah,
It's only a 3-round fight. It won't be a fight that
he jumps on crazy
submissions.
Yep.
So I just think it could be
But
quick.
he strikes from all positions.
What else
as
is
well.
happening in UFC? Cyborg's got a fight. We don't know against who yet.
So who's
That's a
the...
pacifier.
Okay, exactly.
That's a pacifier.
That doesn't
Unless
do
the
shit for
UFC
me.
wants to see if Megan wins this fight
Yeah, she
and how
has a fight.
handedly she wins it. They could be waiting on that. I
Because-
don't like the Kat Zingano fight at all for Kat. I don't think it does. I mean,
That's what I was about to say. Who's Kat gonna fight? She was about to fight.
Cyborg. Kat was about to fight Cyborg.
No, Kat has another fight, doesn't she?
I don't know.
I think she does, but I can't
I thought
think
Kat
of
was
who.
the one that came out and said she'd fight Cyborg. I like the way Misha Tate came out and said, "I'm glad Chris hit Magana."
I love that too. Didn't Eddie say something along those lines too?
I'm sure.
Frankie Edgar, I mean. Like
I'm sure.
talking
No one
shit,
likes
you got
Magana.
hit. You talking shit got hit with Frankie Edgar's. What
I
he
like
was
that.
quoted.
He did have the perfect answer.
always the answer. Any other UFC
I
things
can't
we
think of
got
anything
until we
off
get
the
into our
cuff.
really heavy breakdown? Because we're gonna be able to look at those cards.
Gotta
Look at
study
those
up.
fighters.
Study up.
Yep, we got a couple days for that. It's definitely been.
This is a
good
little
time
extra
fights.
show. You guys got a little bonus show this week.
You guys like? Do you like that show?
All right,
How
yeah.
does it feel?
So follow us on Twitter at Lesbo and the Bean, and for all things Lesbo and the Bean, lesboandthebean.com.
Let's go to the beat.